Everyone.
All right, let's all rise, please. All right, to the regular meeting of the City of Ellsworth for April the 8th, 2024. Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Appreciate the whole lot, but it's always good to have people that are interested in participating. Our first item on the agenda is our consent agenda. It includes potential water and sewer termination requests, claim ordinance A01-0324, and then airport advisory board minutes. No terminations, okay?
Below look good.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, we approve claim ordinance A01-0324 and the airport advisory board minutes.
I'll second.
Councilor Bernard has made a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the claim ordinance A01-0324 and the airport advisory minutes. Councilor Hanson has seconded that motion. Any concerns, questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. The next part of our meeting, we have petitions and delegations, and this is an opportunity for the public to speak. For all comments, please state your full name and whether you're an Ellsworth City resident. All comments are limited to 5 minutes per subject unless City Council has further questions. Is there anybody that would like to approach the, come on up.
Hey Dustin, can we open some windows? It's a little sticky in here. Sure. Style, baby. I don't need people packing up.
Exactly. I'm Deborah Brown, so I'm returning. I am doing the feral cats. I've done a lot of, learning, a lot of reading, to get TNR certified. The one thing I hear over and over again is that the cats, a lot of people have pets that they have go indoor, outdoor. So if I start trapping and their cat comes home with an ear tip gone, they said that's the biggest complaint that they get all the time, over and over and over. Well, you need to have that to be able to identify them at a distance, along with a little tattoo, with the hair, so once you shave it, you can see, yes, they're spayed or neutered. So I don't know if the city could help by helping me put an ad in the paper stating, hey, trapping's gonna be done on this day. And we could all let you know, a week or however soon the paper will know. To inform the public, at least we can say we had it in the paper. So before getting a lot more complaints and a lot more crud on it, nobody needs in a busy day. So, the other thing is we have ourselves 3 have-a-hearts. I heard from the sheriff that the 2 that they had were destroyed. To be able to do the trapping and the stuff that I need, I probably need 7 to 10 of them. Because what they say is you set the traps and only about 60%, sometimes 70%, you'll catch something. So if I can hire somebody to do the 5 to 7 of them at a time, I'm gonna need more traps. Is that something that the city is willing to recoup? I mean, it's your property. I would just end up using it, and then they go back to the sheriff, but.
That's your decision. We can, but my concern is just whether these one-off requests or other.
Did you have that cat summoned where you got everybody together?
they were putting that together and I was, I'm involved in the email traffic, but I'm not sure. Have you all gotten the summit done yet?
No.
Okay.
No, and I'm in the process of looking at 3 veterinarians. The one in town will not give me any discount.
See, they've already covered that ground, that's what I was saying.
Oh, that I hadn't heard.
Yeah, that's why if you guys got together, they've already talked and that person's been all throughout the region and they know which vets will do what.
Okay.
So Dustin's got their name, that's why if you
Yeah,
all got
because I-
together, they would save you a lot of time, because they've
It
already
would
done a
take me
lot.
a lot of time.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's what I've been trying to.
The legwork, they've done all the legwork, they just need more people, a little more structure, maybe a little financing and
And
then,
a little help.
yeah, there may be 3 or 4 in that little pot of people that are doing it, if you guys could get together, now you got
Yeah.
a group.
Then we have, yeah, and I didn't know about any of that, so if you could get me in on that, that would be great.
And if Alan wouldn't mind, I have one that I could donate for you to use.
Right,
And if we could put it in the paper with our city minutes, that we're looking for animal heart traps. There's other people out there that's probably not used them that may load them or give them to the city.
It's not a bad idea.
That's
Well-
an idea.
yeah, and the other thing that I have is my husband's got old rabies tags. We can crib something on, have an identification number, and so we can give them back to the people. I only have so many, I can't afford to do that. I got cards made.
That's, I've understood, maybe it's not true, but if you put, collars on cats, the way they go in and out of things, they can get caught and hung up and then
Yeah,
you could kill the
Yeah,
cat.
but I can mark the trap.
Oh, the
the
trap,
number.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought maybe, because a lot of people
No.
will put a collar on the
No,
cat.
and I agree.
Yeah.
That will create problems, but I can identify the trap with a little teeny
Okay, I
tag.
thought you
on it.
meant a collar, I'm sorry.
No,
Good.
no, that's
Well, at least we
okay.
got that covered up anyway.
Exactly, well, there's one thing.
Yeah.
If everything was that easy. And other than that, I just, after hearing the, what's the thing anyway, after hearing more and more the ear tipping, I find the ear tipping brutal, and I don't like it because the best thing about the cat is looking at, you see those 2 little ears stick up. So I know that it's gonna come back, so if you guys can think about
Yeah,
it.
would the traps be put on, public property? That's a non-personal property, right?
Unless that person
Wants the trap there.
wants a trap
Okay,
there.
I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that question come out.
Yeah, and across from, the other thing I want to put up, I have 3 game cams. And so, a couple buildings that are closed, there's nobody there, so I'm gonna watch for traffic of what goes in and out. And over by the sheriff's office in the back, behind the other building, city building, there's a whole bunch of feral cats.
About 10.
Yeah.
But I count.
I can almost tell you the colors because I've been stalking it. So if I could find someplace that is under camera, or someplace I can hide it, I don't want anybody to grab it and take it. It's, another $150, $200, so. Maybe behind the razor wire.
County plows is what I spoke to in October.
Okay.
I thought.
Yeah, I remember.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I'd love to know these
Fall
names and get
Festival. We'll
together.
cover the same ground. They've already made a lot of progress, but it seems like they needed more people, a little more
Okay.
money, more organization. So if you guys could merge,
Yeah, this is the first, I'm kind of hearing about it.
City
Yeah, but-
council, is this a route you want me to go? Is invest in what she needs help with?
I would say so. We need to do something.
And if we get a grant or anything else, then those can be, either paid back or something, but it's kind of hard when we're both.
It's not like we're killing any animals. It's just like we're trying to control the population.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. That's better than poison. I know some people have done.
Well, or shooting them with short
Yeah.
22s and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And most people are complaining most about the male tomcat urine smell. And once you get them neutered, you don't have that anymore. It's done.
Okay.
And all the kittens are either on the ground or coming. And then the other thing I heard is, stay at 5 months old, because at 6 months old, they can be rebred. So the ones that are on the ground now will be having fall and winter kittens. So something to keep in mind. I'm planning on the 1st of May to start with whatever I have to start with. And then
Did
go
you
from
find
there.
someone to do the procedure for you?
I found 3 that are reasonable. And I can't ask them to do 3 because it's just,
How much is it per cat?
it varies, and that's what further away is a little cheaper, closer is a little more expensive. Anywhere from $50 to $100, 100 being for the female, and it is a lot more involved surgery. 50 is for the neuter, but that involves an MDRCP to keep distemper down for everything else.
That's pretty expensive, actually, isn't it?
Oh,
Not really.
not really. Denver prices are $400 for a spay now with nothing else.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, so the ear tip, the FBRCP and the Revolution, they put on the back to control fleas, ticks, and ticks spread out some of the other diseases and so do ticks, so. There's something to think about. I think my time's up, so, but if you can send me that or have, I got Bonnie's number, but I didn't know anything about it. She didn't say. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to, come on up, Dave? Okay.
I'm Karen Joyner and I do live in the city. I just want some clarification. Are we having free dump this year or is it just cleanup? Because the way the paper reads, I've never seen where it says free dump. It's like they will come and help you if you want help. But I want to know if we're going to have free dump like we've had in the past.
I don't, we're getting away from using the free word because it is paid for by somebody. We take it out of the expenditures of the city. So you're not, no, there is no fees. And
But she wants to know if we're having, like, we're having,
Yes.
yeah, we're having a
Yep.
Karen, so we're having.
April 29th to May 4th.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
yep,
From 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon,
no, from 1 PM to 8 PM.
1 PM. Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
And then the weekend, that Saturday, it'll be 8 AM to 1 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, come on up, sir.
I'm Dave Miller. I'm here representing the youth at our church, Fine Home Church. And they are wanting to have an event for National Day of Prayer, May 2nd at the city park. And using the bandstand and the area around it. And they are hiring a musician, Rusty Ryerson, to come in. So the question is, I know that's a first come, first served basis for that normally, and that's usually okay. Is it possible that we can reserve it or put a sign up, or you can do somehow so that we can know that that is available on that day from about 2 to 8?
That's your call. I just, we don't generally reserve it unless you want to authorize us to do so.
I'm okay with that.
Because they need to plan for it.
Yeah.
If they plan for it, it's not reserved, that's a snap through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think we need a motion for that.
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to reserve the grandstand for the May 2nd.
Okay,
For
2 days.
the whole day, so they can prepare.
Okay, okay, how do you want to do it? All right.
Mrs. Priester Park, correct?
Yes.
I'll second that.
All right, hold on a second, draw a blank here.
Dawn,
Sorry, I just lost half on this complete. Council manager has made a motion to approve the youth band for the city park. Council Renard has seconded that motion. Any discussion or concerns with that?
Is there anything going on at the park for the big Kansas road trip that day?
I think that's on, well, it might be, because it is 2 or 3 days.
It's the second.
Yeah, because we're doing something on Saturday for that, but it doesn't require any outside.
The second is Thursday, right?
Yeah, second and Thursday.
So it is the first day of the road trip, but I'm not sure if there's any events.
Not that I'm not for it,
Not at that
but
part.
if there,
Yeah.
there's something going on, I just don't want it to conflict.
Did we have any prior, but you have not approved any prior.
I haven't seen anything advertised at the park.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything.
it's kind of like he said, first come, first served, they were the first ones to apply to us, so they should have first chance at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for a couple of reasons. Number one, the big Kansas road trip people, if they're here, they're gonna drive by and check it out. Plus, we need a kind of a test run of that facility for the Cowtown, because I'm,
Okay.
you know, there's a benefit there.
Make sure the power's still on.
Correct, yeah, it's a problem, right, so. So we had a motion by Councilman Panzer, Councilman Bernard seconded that motion. All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you very
so
much.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
All right, next item on the agenda, is there anybody else? Is there anybody else? Come on up, yeah, I'm sorry, come on up.
Good evening. In March, I wrote a personal check to the city for $165.50 for a building permit for the project at the city library. And the reason I wrote a personal check was because we were in a hurry to get that building permit posted. And I was not able to come to the previous city council meeting. Tonight it snowed and the weather was pretty bad. Anyway, the library has reimbursed me for that amount, even though I did not ask them to. And so my request this evening is for the city to reimburse the library for $165.50 that we paid for the building permit. This project is on city property, and the purpose of the project was to improve the handicap parking at the library for citizens.
So you're using that as a donation then? Is that right? You're using the 165 that you paid as a donation then for it? Yeah.
And I was required to pay a fee.
Oh, I
for
see,
building.
because it's on city property.
And the precedent that has been set is with other government entities, we bill them, and then if they want to request reimbursement, they come to council, or they come to council prior to the project to request.
Okay, I understand.
So unless you want me to do something different, that is one of the side questions here. That's been the operation that I've advised staff to follow.
That project is complete.
I don't even.
That's the city property.
Do you need a motion on that too?
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we reimburse the library for their down payment on their permit.
Second.
Councilor Johnson has made a motion to waive or reimburse the library for the building permit for the handicap space. And Councilor Hanson has seconded that motion. Any discussion? Any concerns? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it. Yeah, sir. Anybody else? Anybody else? Nobody. Okay, moving on, unfinished business. Discussion decision regarding David Bailey. Dustin, and I'll
Yes.
fill in some blanks too, because I'm aware of this, so.
Yeah, I am bringing this to council because I wasn't a part of the original agreement, and I don't feel comfortable setting precedents like this. David Bailey owns the property right next to the alleyway, which is actually the alleyway where the tube runs right next to. And he has rebuilt a lot of the retaining wall, as you can see in the pictures. And he approached Dan first, but then Dan referred him to me, and he's requesting.
To Rusty.
Right,
Yeah.
it originally started with Rusty,
Start with Rusty.
and he's requesting $2,000 of reimbursement from the city for the work that he's done. He's not demanding it, it's more of just a request. I didn't feel comfortable answering that, so when I talked to Patrick about it, we thought it would be better to see it to
A
council.
little background, so during the campaign, David approached me, said, hey, we got this retaining wall, it's falling down, kids are gonna get hurt, we need to do something about it. Talked to Delvin about it, and apparently it was not the original historic fence that was there, it was a recreation of it. So years later, they recreated it somehow, well, the recreation was falling apart, so Rusty said, A, we'll just tear it down. Or B, you can tear it down and we'll reimburse you this, he's a contractor, if you will just build a fence, you know? So David thought about it for a while and he said, all right, I'll do option B. Time passed and, I think a lot of it's, he's very busy, so when his crew was available, it's out of his own pocket to tear it down, he had to get dump trucks and he tore down this fence, took it all to the dump, you know? And then he's like, hey, you know, I'm ready to build this thing. Are you guys still gonna live up to your obligation of what we just discussed? I said, of course we will. So, you know, in the interim, you know, Justin got hired and he found out about it and he kind of got brought into it. So, you know, originally when I heard it, I thought, oh, this is, but then I thought, you know, we can't recreate the concrete. We have no capability, our street department can't, from an artistic standpoint, ever in a million years redo that. So I thought, you know what, this was actually kind of smart, you know, that everybody can win here. David could get his fence and, you know, it's something 3 or 4 years down the road we don't like, and we actually gain the capability and expertise. We could do something different all throughout the city. So it was just an emergency. It was bugging him. It was a safety concern, and that's what Rusty decided to do. And he said, you know, I'll do the work and I need to be reimbursed. And so I thought it was pretty fair, so. But anyways, yeah.
Well, if it's documented that the mayor or Rusty said, yes, we will reimburse you, then we should hold our word and say, yes, we'll reimburse you. If that's is that communication to the mayor?
That's the verbal communication.
Yeah.
And I think and so there's no written indication.
No, and it shouldn't ever be done like that ever again. This is a weird
And I
one-off.
think we need to see receipts.
Let me see.
Yeah.
I think we need a contract for it signed by David that is paid for.
So just so you know, I need to put, it's in a pile on my desk, but I did ask for a quote.
Yeah.
So I do have a quote with all his expenses on it, if you would like, if you would approve it with that being part of the and I can draft a contract with
Was
Patrick.
it $2,000?
No, it was around 5,000 and some change.
So he's going out of pocket quite a bit for this. So my suggestion would be to actually go higher, but that's, you know,
Well, so he built this,
He repaired it.
he repaired it, so I was seeing cracks and stuff, so it's.
and I don't even know if that's the end product or not. I mean, I never.
He wants to add a rail to it,
Yeah.
so part of what he's not asking is for is a rail, but,
Yeah. And I think it's something in 3 or 4 years, we're like, okay, we didn't really like that, but it solved a problem, it's helped him. You know, there are other architectural things like this in town. I will tell you that I've been contacted by people who do not like it when these things corrode and break and people are thrown up into the streams. That we, as a city, had to go in with a backhoe, with a bobcat and fish them out to give them to people. So we do have to be careful about just destroying the stuff and pitching it. So, this may be like a stopgap, and then we kind of think of something down the road. But anyway.
like you saw in my writing, my primary concerns is precedent and that it wasn't written down, so that's.
Yeah, we need that all done before we pay people to do jobs, but we don't even know they're doing.
That's just it, none of us did that. Yeah, nobody was on the council. did.
So whose fence? It's our fence or his fence? I mean, whose is it? If it ain't the city's, then why are we?
No, I think
paying
it's the
for it?
cities, it's the cities. I'm pretty sure that's city property.
I doubt it. I'm gonna say that.
Patrick, can you provide some clarity?
Always over here, is that, there are drainage easements that do exist in the city. I don't know if this is a drainage easement. So first I would be, I mean, if it is one of the city's drainage easements, that doesn't necessarily follow that that retaining wall belongs to the city, but it's possible that they were built at the same time. I mean, a lot of, a lot of those historic, drainage easements that flow through, some of them we've had to add in the past, and some of them are really old, like I'm thinking of the Priester Park. Essentially, that's what it is, and some of those flow through in weird spots, but just a long winded way of saying I don't know.
Right.
So technically,
I
Dan,
mean, we need to know stuff.
yeah, Dan should have said, check with the city council, and then we decide.
This was 2 years ago. We didn't even have a city administrator at the time, and I did give him the notes. You know, said check into it when he took the job, but of course he got busy, so it's just one of those final pieces to the Rusty era that we're dealing with.
Yeah, but you don't have that authority to do that, so I want to get that clear.
Yeah, Rusty did have the authority to spend under $10,000,
But you didn't have an authority to.
he authorized it.
But there's no
No record of it.
there's no proof, so they did not.
Well, it's my, I'm an eyewitness. No, we can't do stuff.
No, we just
That's
stop.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, let's just not do that.
But then if we did promise something at the same time, I also understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm kind of caught in a catch-22.
That's what I said, because we've already promised it, so I think we're obligated to. our
Yeah,
promise.
I think we need to pay.
Is it like up to code? that like something Delvin needs to do?
I rocked there with Delvin. And Delvin said that we don't have much of code to cover this sort of thing, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah.
Yeah, my initial gut reaction was, oh, but then I thought about it, I said, we just don't have the people that can do this. I said, if David can do this, then what the heck? Anyway.
Well, okay, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve that we compensate $2,000 pending the quote which you say you have, so
I'll second it.
All right, Counselor Nars made a motion to approve the quote $2,000 pending the receipts. Counselor Panther has seconded that motion. Any discussion, debate? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, discussion decision regarding the Humboldt addition and the David Pyle construction proposal. And tonight, I think this is kind of the grand finale, right? Maybe this property.
I just, Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Go
all
ahead.
I'm requesting is, sorry,
No, that's all right.
I'm just requesting what you want to do because we've had two developers approach the city. Now we've got local developers that are contacting me. And what I'm, before we can bid out or may do anything in my eyes, what do you want to do with the property? I know that a couple of you don't want it to be housing and under the R2 conditions, so we can either do R1. That's one option that I didn't include in here. Patrick, when Patrick and I were talking, he suggested that's an option I hadn't thought of. There's an option to go parks, which is something that I know a couple of you have mentioned to me. I just don't want to keep sending the signal, because what it'll do is if we keep it as Homolka Edition on our maps, it leaves the impression open that that's what we want to do with that property. If we want it to be a park, then I am asking for you to make it a park. We can do the rest of that. I just need your guidance, because I don't want to sell it as something when we don't want it there. I think in my opinion, we should just make a decision tonight on what you want to do.
So really, at the top level, look, do you want to sell the property for private, which is what Tyler said. His concern is just selling the property regardless of what somebody does, but they sit there with a lawn chair, doesn't matter. Once he sells it, it's out of our hands. And so this is a decision of, do you want to sell it or not?
Well, do we even want to make it residential is my first question. If we don't want to make it residential, then let's just make it a park. Patrick and I and the staff will make it happen. We'll bring an ordinance to you, converting it to a park, and then it's done.
So it's a park in words only, doesn't mean you're gonna build something.
That's correct. Yeah, this board has to approve everything. It's just, I don't want to keep selling it as an option if that's not what you want.
So sell it for residential or park.
Or change the zoning. If density is what people are concerned about, we can make it R1. Right now it's R2, which allows for duplexes and triplexes. If that's your concern, the other option is we can make it R1 and then remarket it that.
So if it's R1, they have to build houses.
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, that would be something I could live with, that housing, not apartment complexes.
Yeah, and
Need
the
houses,
other,
not
yeah,
complexes.
and on Tyler's deal, I agree with him. I had a person ask me, and I never thought about this, let's say it's called medium housing. And your rent is $950 a month for that apartment duplex. Let's say someone comes up and they fill out the paperwork and they say, oh, I can only pay $500 for rent. Do they qualify through that grant program to get $450 from the state? So that becomes low income housing?
On the Pyle proposal, there was.
That's one question that's come up.
No, it's, that's under the basis that he's using income to qualify people for low income housing. No, the grants he'd be going for is mid-level housing, which means they would have to be able to afford to pay the rent he's charging. So there's no, in his proposal, while they are triplexes and duplexes with parking spots, it was not an income-based program.
So if this individual would come back and say, I just want to build an individual house there, if we go with Tyler's mention there, he could do that.
Absolutely.
If it was R1.
Yeah.
R1.
Now, there's a legal process to change it to R1, which we'll all have to run through with Delvin and Patrick and redoing that public hearings and stuff. But at least if you gave me that direction, I know what
I'm
you.
for park, but I'm gonna.
And
concede.
I, see, I like
I'm
parks,
for park, but I'm gonna concede because I'm.
but I would
by people on
definitely
this council.
rather see a house, but who's gonna build a house?
And that's what I've had
Really?
people say, it's like, you should be building new houses in that neighborhood. So, I mean, apparently we have that neighborhood. So people are saying, well, you shouldn't be building new houses in that neighborhood.
That's not right, say that, but
So,
But it's,
like I said, I want to see a park, but I'm gonna concede that you
I mean,
know
I,
how I'm gonna vote. So you vote the way you're gonna vote and I'll just deal with what we deal with.
So what is the vote? How do we work this?
That's my request.
So what, let me, talking about R1, so can we do an R1/park? Or do you, we want?
There's a number of ways I can do it. We could do a couple of parcels like I had proposed in park and then the other 6 in R1.
here we go.
No, I never know if it's helpful or not, but yeah, I mean, when I heard the discussion on this, there seemed to be heartburn about the whole duplex, triplex thing, so that's, I told Dustin, like, it's what you, this, because it's city owned, you do whatever you want with it. I think in most developers, or then Dustin too, had the idea of putting some of that space as keeping it, instead of the whole thing being a park, it could be partially park. And then R1, and I even suggested to Dustin, maybe we could, the thing I remember that worked in Ellsworth was the free lot program. Maybe the city could administer, or maybe you could get a partner to just see if anybody wanted to get a lot. Those all had restrictions that they had to get built a certain way. I mean, you could run with it if you want to. I have no idea what you guys want to do. But if the concern is we don't want to have duplexes, triplexes, send it to planning and zoning and say, can you guys look at making this R1? That's the first step in the process. And then the city, because it's our land, we could plat it however we wanted. We could make, you guys wouldn't probably want to do it yourselves, but you could make sure the plats had appropriate lot size, so they weren't putting postage stamp size houses on there, and probably dedicate some public space to it and make it look decent, if you want to. Or you can just mark it all as a park, those are all the options.
I mean, because the way those apartments show, there's gonna be what, 4 parking places, am I right, per triplex?
As per the current
Okay,
design.
well, 4 parking places, there's gonna be more people that have more than 4 cars in that space.
yeah.
So then where are you putting all the rest of those cars?
Just keep in mind, because we own it, you can negotiate with the developer and put in requests for him to update it as much as you want. But the first step is, well, you would have to commit to giving it up.
Yeah.
And that's really the question. So before we can go to all these negotiable items, I just would like direction on how you want me to.
If you turn into a park, it does end this debate for now.
Yes,
And then we can do what we really want to do, is find a property that we can all agree on, that the town all agrees on, get a price. What does it take? What do we need to do? And then start to do it. And then we can always swing back to that in a few years.
that's correct. That's really my,
And you know,
What about, okay, remember we were kicking around the dog deal and the community garden? I mean,
Yeah.
can any of that be? something?
Absolutely.
yeah, I know.
I was just thinking of that the other day, 'cause that kind of looked bye-bye.
Yeah, the
I got
win-win.
quotes for $30,000.
Buildings there too.
With that option.
I think with your name,
Village Park's probably one.
Yeah, we.
You're gonna build much, I mean, 4 parking places per triplex. Well, I'm gonna assume
Right.
more than 4 people are gonna have vehicles.
Sure, oh yeah, it's vehicles are.
Oh, yeah, get that 8.
But I
We
mean,
can, like I said, we can always have them
Yes.
adjust plans if
And
that's something.
it's not about not wanting housing now. I think people are misconstruing. This is not about not wanting people to build in Ellsworth. This is just people looking out for neighborhoods. And I know we've had several people in our neighborhood that have said, no. Unfortunately, they're not coming to council to say no. But I know that they've told us.
but we just go with the park, we can always revisit it, right, Patrick? It doesn't mean we can't come back in 6 months. And there's no statute of limitations. Oh, wait, you can wait 3 years for this.
You could obviously, if you dedicate it as a park, if you really developed it and put some money into it as a park, which is a whole other story.
Right.
Then you have consequences.
Absolutely.
I mean, most parks, if you look at the Ellsworth parks, and this is true of almost every city, and I'm not planning and zoning expert, but like most parks end up being an unbuildable space. Like you
Yeah.
can't, the reason like Creasy Park is a great park, but you can't put a house in that because of the slope and because of the drainage, and same thing with Priestner. So most cities have their parks where flood's gonna happen.
Right.
What's unique about, I mean, I think Jonathan Mitchell, I think is the one who was looking for a grant to do duplexes, and that's when they made it R1. back in like 2006. So that reason why that park has never been developed as a park is it could be built on theoretically.
Right. Okay,
That's the story there.
but there's no time limit. We change the parks, 6 months, we get the itch, we just change it.
Yeah, I think until you start like actually putting playground equipment and really making it a
Right.
thing, and
That's-
running into it, yeah.
And I think Tyler's idea is great. I think what I'm saying, Darcy, is if the neighbors really want parking, we're not gonna say, hey, if there's a dog park there, Darcy can't have a party and park there. Nobody's gonna say anything. They're just gonna let her park there. So we're adding parking as part of the park. That's a win-win. Everybody wins, you know, the neighbors need it. I think the whole thing doesn't need to be a dog park or pickleball, or I'd love to see a lighted full court basketball. That'd be awesome. Have 2 courts out there. You don't need all that space for those 2 things. You could build a nice, you know, but anyway.
Kiwanis is also
Yeah.
looking for a project.
I mean, I'd like to hear Aaron and Justice. I mean, you know, I'm one of this council, so I, you know. So I would like to hear everybody's opinion on it.
I wouldn't mind seeing revised plans if they're gonna add parking, just to see what that could look like, if that was an option.
Yeah.
2, I heard that somebody was talking about that we actually have open for vacancies out there, so my question is, how much is housing really needed if we already have vacancies sitting out south of town in those, so, I know you guys are wanting to vote on this, I guess, in a sense, I'd like more information.
To some degree. Okay.
Or like, I'd like to see a revised set of plans to just see what that would look
Yeah,
like.
I like Darcy's idea, if they can build something that accommodates the parking, so you don't have, because each apartment's gonna need 2 vehicles, maybe 3. A family of 4 is gonna, eventually, if they have any children, it's gonna be 4 or 3 vehicles.
And it's 5 parking spots. Sorry, I'm looking at the plans.
5 parking
Yeah,
spots,
per
or
unit.
3,
Per line, per 3 units, 3.
5 or 3, okay.
I know that probably doesn't change the ratio too much, but I was just looking at it, I wanted to correct.
It needs to be more like 6 or 7, because
And Dustin, I would probably put it out there to anybody local who's really wanted.
And some of them do have 6,
have you had any, like, Aaron says, is there any local interest in it?
yes.
Well, there's local interest, but I was saying like, really, I'm pretty sure we would all agree that we would happily do away with the no charges on the hospital property if any local people want to take that down. I mean, just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other opportunities out there as well,
Well, yeah.
and that's a big lot out there too, so.
Where the hospital is, how many acres is it?
It's not sure.
Almost a full block, isn't it?
Yeah,
So some of the things that, although going along with the same lines as incentivizing development, some other ideas that were brought up during our housing, and Jessica helped me remember. The tax incentives. That could be offered for certain lots of development, kind of like if we wanted to incentivize someone doing the hospital, do tax abatement, or taking over properties in a land bank. And offering in sale incentives like tax write-offs for 5 years type of deal. You know, to incentivize redeveloping the lots that we have currently. But a lot of what's driving the housing need is also just lack of competition. Because you've got 1 or 2 people who own a big chunk of the lots in town, and that kind of freezes the rent. And so for people who the unfortunate wages don't rise with the rent, like what in Denver and California, for example. You've got 1 or 2 or 3 major corporate owners of these housing developments who freeze the rent where it is. And because there's no competition with these oligopolies, that also is what adds to the. So a lot of people who are working wages that they do can't afford the rent that's being charged. That's another aspect to that as well.
Would it be a possibility instead of making 3plexes, make them duplexes
Yeah,
and do bedroom parking?
yeah, it's whatever you want, and we can negotiate whatever we want.
I'm like here, having come up with a couple of different plans that we all can agree on, or we just say, no, we'll leave it apart. 1 of the 2. I hate to postpone a response back to him, but we can get more information, I think we'd all be happy about that. Do you guys think so?
So right now, it's zoned as R2, so like duplexes, triplexes, and R1 would be single family dwelling.
That's correct.
That's the way I would like to see it.
Well,
So, like,
if we had to go something, that's how I'd like to see
I mean,
it. And not complex.
single family, yeah, I think that would be a better thing.
We haven't been able on this other stuff, you know, we're discussing.
Just curious how many. Oh, I have a problem with that idea. I'm just curious how many.
With the way they're drawn right now, 8, but we'd have to get it replatted probably.
8 houses,
Well, that's how it's currently drawn.
yeah.
If we had it replatted, I think we can do R1 with the way it's drawn out now.
So in other words, what you're saying is you'd like us to make a decision so you know how to proceed.
I'd just like to know what you want, how you want me to go, because
Well, let's try this then. I make a motion that we take that area, that Humboldt condition, and zone it to R1.
I'll second.
All right, Council Panzer has made a motion to zone it to R1. And Councilor Coates has seconded that motion. Any concerns? Discussions?
Just for clarification, you'll still have to send it down to planning and zoning
Yep.
to formally do it. I think your motion is to send it to them to start the process, which is,
Okay, that's
but
what,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's
All right,
what
so Councilor Panzer has made a motion to send it to planning, planning and zoning to start the process to rezone it to R1. Councilor Coates has seconded that motion. Any debate, discussion, concerns? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, next thing on the agenda, the Civic Award updates discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know that in response to your requests and guidance, I have an appointment with the Grove Ellsworth Economic Development Board on May 22nd. And to discuss your proposal and ideas.
Right, so, yeah, I like it. I think that, here are my thoughts. I've got a little more time. All we really wanted to do was to honor Wayne and Melissa, you know, and it was like, we just didn't want to hand a piece of paper and say, here you go. So then the idea of a gift, and we couldn't really do the gift, and we thought, let's put together a quality award. I think what we need to do is just take care of Wayne and Melissa, you know what I mean? And then if we can merge with the county and use that dinner that we had 10 days ago to do it, and they're happy, we're happy, and we can celebrate the people in Lorraine, Wilson and all that, it's great. But I do fear that we could get there and it's like, oh gosh, we should just do it ourselves. I mean, we may feel that way. So my suggestion would be to figure out something for Wayne and Melissa, just get it done, a plaque or whatever.
I already have it.
Yeah. We tried, you know, it's like anything. And then what I think is your citizen crew, they should drive this. They should be the ones to give you the ideas to go to the, you know, say, hey, you guys are learning to be too much, you know, and then let them come up with the ideas and kind of like a service project you do as an Eagle Scout project, you know?
Okay.
At least provide us some ideas. You can always say no. Go to that meeting and let's just report back and, you know, we'll make a decision like, hey, I know there are some concerns. You get into, well, this, it can get crazy, like Ms. Ellsworth get 3 citizenship awards, and Lorraine get 1, and so, yeah, we'll just wait to hear what they've got to say, but.
I think we're going too far over bounds on this citizen award project myself. For the last 4 years, when we got off city council, the mayor resigned or whatever, didn't go back. Any public service person, they got free city identities, they got the pool, they got the golf course and this. I don't think we ought to start changing this and giving awards for this, this, and this, because everybody's creating from the past, future, and present. I think we give them a plaque and say, thank you for your service. But all as far as this fancy awards, taking pictures and having this, that's kind of a shun to all the people that served before.
So, and just to make sure I understand you correctly, because I don't have any clear guidance on this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, no, I do a plaque and, you said give free city amenities.
Yeah, free city amenities, what the plan has been, and for years, and that was been. And that's kind of a stab back and stabbing somebody in the back that was like Al Stepnick, Stephen Bayham, all those guys that were city councilmen, they become mayors, they took time out from, all they got was the basics like we do for everybody. I don't think we ought to change that because
I don't think we knew that. I mean, I didn't know that till tonight. Did you know that?
No.
We didn't know that. So
So,
that's good. I mean, that might be what we need to do.
yeah, I just don't think we need to. I don't think that's necessary. When someone runs for city council, they run to serve. They don't run for personal achievements. They don't run for, oh, got my picture in the paper this week. Oh, boy, oh, boy. No, it's a service to the community. They get free services from the community and that's it. Because we're gonna be sticking ourselves in a hole. if We do that. Tell me if I'm wrong or not, please tell me.
if that's the case, so I would like to put it in writing,
Okay,
so that way it's solidified.
Tyler, what do you think?
I thought you had to be on council for 10 years to get golf.
Yeah. That's what it
Because
was
we had,
originally.
we had
Is that what it
to
was,
do
10
10
years?
years, you gotta do 3 terms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And,
then why are we gonna be
Because we-
changing it?
because we did it for,
Honestly,
who was the interim mayor?
Mark Kennedy
We did it for him because he,
had been council
Yep.
member and then.
and we said, okay, and he
And
got.
when I retired in 2000, I'd been on 12 years and they gave me free golf.
Yeah, I think it's 10 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's-
Okay,
You gotta do it for 10, so.
but,
For 10 years and our terms are 4 years.
they're
Yes.
4 years old.
so you gotta have 3 terms, you're not.
Put that.
Okay, so I'd like to authorize Dustin to go ahead and put that in writing, then we can vote on it and make a motion to that effect.
Okay,
No, you still want him to go to this meeting or do you want Mr. Dixon?
What's your opinion on that, Dustin?
I'm game either way. I
Now,
don't,
let the other councilman say something. I don't know, but I just think it's kind of a,
I don't know, I mean, if you.
It's not a hell I'm
You
willing to-
ran and you got beat, you got the vote, they don't want you, so.
Yeah.
Bye, I mean, what do you say to them?
so,
I mean, I don't need a plaque if I don't need a plaque, I'll be fine, that's what, but that's me, I don't really care about plaques and all that, so.
yes.
It don't matter to me. If somebody wants to do it, you know?
I appreciate plaques, but really they just go on a shelf in a closet and collect dust, and it's probably way more expensive for you to make than it's worth. I like the idea of though making sure that they can have access to amenities at no charge. If, I mean, the 10-year thing is kind of funny, but that's fine. Although I think going to the Grow Ellsworth County Board is kind of silly, maybe just because they serve the entire county. And so saying, hey, we want you to only recognize our community members at your banquet. And maybe, I mean, I just feel like if we were gonna do something, we should do it on our own. And we could
Okay.
easily do something at the beginning of a council meeting and say, hey, thanks to Don
Yeah.
Panzer for serving 10 years as unlimited golf.
Been a whole lot easier just to buy him a gun. You know, that's where you come from, that's when you can do that, so. Yeah,
So is that the guidance that you need, Dustin?
please.
Okay,
And, like I said, this is just something I'm only go ahead.
and I like Jessica's idea too, that was because why show favoritism that way, yeah. Okay, Darcy, are you okay?
got what you need on that?
Yep,
Okay,
Okay. All right, anybody else on that one? Okay. All right, new business, case number 2023-039, AIR 24-040.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to direct the floor to code enforcement officer, Steve Bishop.
Well, this is the 3rd time I've been up here. And we are going to ask the council we're filing a petition with the council to declare a structure which is located at 406 North Douglas. It's currently owned by Dale E. Hoosier to be a dangerous structure. We've done a couple more of these, which we're gonna have a hearing, I think, on the 22nd for the first one. Both of the structures that we've previously petitioned were not, there was no one living in them, okay? Back November 30th of last year, I sent a violation order to Mr. Hoosier, giving him until January 1st to correct the violations at that address. This was the first time that I used the minimum housing standard ordinance. So this is unlike ones we've done before where we have nuisance violations. So if you're not familiar with the standard ordinance 3137, I suggest that you review it. So at that time, we cited them for basically plumbing issues, entry and exit issues, and kitchen sink, lavatory facilities, plumbing and toilet facilities, and water heating facilities. This was all predicated on the fact that Mr. Cruiser has not had any water or sewer service for this since 2017.
And he's been living in it since then?
Yes.
Can I ask, where's all that going?
Well, that's my question. I actually
Yeah, I know that.
I actually spoke with him this afternoon. He wanted to know if he needed to be here tonight. I told him he was welcome to be here, but that we wouldn't be actually doing down to the cutting here, that this was just the start of the process. And that if we started this, then there would be a publication of paper, he would be sent a registered letter, another publication, and then 30 days down the road, sometime we would have a meeting. I did ask him that question today when I was on the phone with him. And he basically said, well, I bring water from here and there, and I sometimes use public facilities and this and that. And I said, well, you're bringing water into your place. I said, where does it go when you get done with it? Oh, it goes down the sewer. Ah, so you're using sewer facilities and you're not paying for them.
Yeah.
He's bringing his own water in for the toilet.
Yeah, well, I couldn't really nail that down. Back when I first approached him, he was good about going back and forth with me. He likes to communicate via email, which I have copies of all the emails, and I think you might have those as well in there. But basically, at that time, he told me that he was going to be putting in a hot water system and that he was going to have the roof repaired. Well, to date, I contacted City Plumbing earlier today. They haven't done anything with him yet. They went over and visited with him back last year and told him what he needed to get, what they were going to have to do, but that's as far as it went. He also was supposed to get some contractors to look at his roof. The backside of the house is rotting out because of the
Are the
roof.
windows knocked out too in the back?
Yes, there's windows knocked out as well. There's pictures, I think, attached in that as well. So, anyway, so right now then, we're asking that, we start the process
Yeah.
to declare that as dangerous structure. Also, and this is something I think the council is gonna have to deal with down the road, is that we are now, at least this is the first instance where we're dealing with a structure where someone's actually physically living in the structure. And so I have not been inside the structure. The way I read the ordinance, if I wanted to go to his house and say, hey, I need to come in and look at your house, I could do that. If he refused me, then I could go file for a way to get in there. I've never done that. So we try to respect the fact that people live in these places. But at the same token, I can tell you for a fact, we have residences in this town that would probably show up on the, what's the TV show with the
Orders.
That's the one. That's the one. At any rate, so that's what I'm doing here. So it's 406 North Douglas, and the property owner's name is Dale Hoosier, and he's been cited for violations of the Minimum Housing Standard Act.
Okay, Patrick, can you inform us where we're at on this?
I'm not very far on it, Steve's working on this one.
So you just need a vote to do the hearing, hold the hearing?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at this point, is that we'll start the process. So it'll be published in the paper twice. After it's published in the paper, I have 3 days to send out a registered letter to him. And we set a date, which is at least 30 days from that point. And usually when I mail letters, the way the mail goes, it's gotta go to Wichita or it comes back to Ellsworth, that I give him some extra time. So he'll probably have 35 plus days after we actually to hold the hearing.
I just want to make sure our ducks are in a row when we do this, because
Sure.
I know the individual, I know what can come back at.
And that process that you just outlined, that's a state law, we always have to give that much notice because it's
I
serious.
just want to make sure we're doing everything by the book. Okay. I'll make a motion that we proceed with, what do you want to call
We'll declare that property a dangerous
it?
structure.
A dangerous structure. And for Steve or our man to follow, pursue.
I'll second.
Counselor Panther has made a motion to declare the structure owned by David Hoosier as a dangerous structure to allow Steve to proceed to the next step. Counselor Johnson has seconded that motion. Any discussion or debate regarding this? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
I have a question though, where are we at, and Steve's up here, on that Dwayne Urban that we start this process with that, and then he passed away, he was living
I
there.
give you an update on that. Mr. Urban had a mortgage with the company out of Iowa on the house, the property. None of his children, stepchildren want anything to do with that property. He owed quite a bit of money on it. Since the time that I initially contacted that bank, that they had sold that mortgage to another company who specializes in collections. And obviously, the kids didn't want to get anywhere close to that, so they bailed on it. I had no idea what ended up happening with that property. I tried contacting them, but this is being a more of a collection agency who I can get you the name for, I don't have it right on top of my head. But it's one of those places where they've been sued several times because they harass people until they keel over. So I don't know what's gonna happen to that property. That property is probably gonna be, you're probably gonna see me up here in the near future declaring that a dangerous structure, which it obviously is. So,
Yeah, it's on stilts, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, the whole stuff, just push it in and put the dirt over it. There you go, your whole.
Call Larry Griffin. Call Larry Griffin.
That has been.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Yep. All right, next item on the agenda, will be the decision regarding temporary appointments and general appointments discussion. Do you want to start us off, Dustin?
Yeah, as per statute, we need to declare a temp, or maybe specify a temporary chief and temporary city clerk. Sergeant Weigel and Angela have agreed to be temps while we search. I brought the packet that I have showing that I am trying to attract police chief applications. I'm not finished yet, but I at least wanted to show that I am making up the city clerk is the one I still haven't posted yet. So, but by statute, I am requesting us to at least temporarily post it, because I do have to report to C-Post, which is responsible for maintaining all the licensures of all police officers in the state. And whenever there is a rank change, I need to report it. And he can't report himself, so I at least remember, and like I said, I want to reiterate, this is temporary while we go through the interview process, and we can talk about how you want to do that. But I'm at least requesting temporary so we can remain legal. And both of them have agreed to fill those positions while we search.
Good. Cool. I had some questions about it. Should we do the temporary appointments first or ask questions?
I'm at your leisure.
Should I we do the temporaries first and do the questions later, or?
It's up to you guys, really.
Well, let's do the temporary first.
Okay.
So we need a motion to,
I'm gonna have to get help on that.
this is an appointment, so it's
Well,
all different.
I think the mayor would, you name your appointment and the mayor vote to approve it is what.
Okay.
and The only difference being that this is, and just a temporary one because yeah.
But it is statute, we can do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we need to do
We
this.
have to, it's okay.
Yeah, please, even if it's only for one meeting, please appoint someone. We can
Okay.
request.
I make a recommendation to appoint Sergeant Weigel as the temporary police chief of the city of Ellsworth. And I make a motion to appoint, Angela Mueller as the temporary city clerk for the city of Ellsworth.
I'll second it or make the motion to.
I'll second.
All right, so Councilor Panzer has made a motion to approve the appointments. Councilor Coates has seconded that motion. Any debate? Any concerns? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We have two temporaries. Good, congratulations, both of you. Yeah. I hope you kind of considered making that transition, but it's a personal decision. We can understand if you don't, so no pressure. Yeah, a couple questions. So Patrick, so we're interviewing people, right? Let's say we have some really good people and it's the middle of May. I mean, do we just keep the temporary appointment? It doesn't affect, if we can't make the early May deadline, not the end of the world, right? For
Yeah.
appointments
Yes,
with a temporary.
we could, there's a weird, the statute, I do not love the way the statute is on appointments, because I think it's antiquated. But, we would just follow the statute, we appoint people, and then you can switch them. There's a process at any point in the year. The statute lays out that the mayor can say, the mayor has the power to say, I don't know that I like this appointment anymore, mid-year, and then council has a chance to. So what it comes down to, there is, I don't like the statute is, it really just comes down to, all the appointments are appointees, and just like anyone else, we can change them whenever the council all agrees, so we just have this process in May where we formally do it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean the next meeting couldn't be.
All right, that was just a question I had because he's he's got some really good candidates, but will he get them interviewed by the first meeting in May? I don't know. So that means the temporary would stay till the second meeting in May or early June.
And we can shuffle.
Okay.
It's different, it's very different. I think the confusion sometimes is like, there are some in county government or other government forms where the person is appointed and then can't be removed without a recall election or can't be removed without some sort of impeachment. City officers are not that. I mean, as long as mayor, council agree, there has to be some agreement between those two co-bodies, but they can switch them whenever they need to.
Okay. Can someone be appointed for two jobs?
Depends on the job, depends on, there's some attorney general's opinions out there on whether or not you can. I'd have to look on specifics.
Meaning what?
Just looking at a couple options here, moving forward, we'll talk about it. I mean, but I just didn't even know if that's even a possibility.
There's situations where that's happened, and I think there's some where they've said, yes, you can do both, and some things you can't, so I'd want to be more specific at looking.
All right, then can you create a new job title, or do you have to have an ordinance to create a new job title?
You could create a new position.
That's an
by
appointment
ordinance, that,
right?
and whether or not I was appointed, I think you could charter out just something like that.
Okay,
It would probably be a charter ordinance, which is just a slightly different kind of ordinance,
Yeah.
but I think it's possible.
Okay.
We'd have to look at the specifics. Would be
Okay.
important.
Well, basically, we leave it up to Dustin for him to select what he thinks and then present it to the council, right?
I like that approach. I'm not gonna say that's the only approach that exists, but that's what I would support.
Okay, this sounds good enough to me. You understand that, Dustin?
Well, that has to be approved by y'all.
Okay.
The way it's written right now, that it's different.
yeah, I think the mayor makes the appointments, right?
The mayor,
Based on recommendation.
Yeah.
And then they approve.
He's gonna do the interview, but you're not gonna be in the interview with him, so.
I might be, I mean, I'm not.
You don't know about it.
Well, no, I'm just, right, I mean, we've got so many open positions, it does create, we got a little bit of a.
Okay, so I'd like to clarify more than what you mean double position. Like, I don't wanna be stuck in the dark here and then you bring this to us and it's like, oh, we're gonna do
I mean,
this.
I like him for a dual role.
Like who
Water
for a dual
supervisor, Dustin. Try for a year, that type of thing. I mean, can we even legally do it? I mean, that's what we're asking.
You mean it's like city administrator and city clerk?
Yeah, no, water,
Okay, that's where I was confused. 'cause
Right.
it was-
I mean, we don't even know if it's legal, but I mean, it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe that's something we talk about, so. But I mean, you see what I'm saying now? Does he have?
That's way out there, isn't it?
Is it two appointments or is it a this/job, whatever? I mean, just something that,
I think different size cities have done all sorts of different things. I mean, Ellsworth's always been kind of we're not the smallest city by any stretch that has an administrator, but you know, cities smaller than us don't have an administrator and do dual roles. And so I'm not gonna say it's impossible.
In my opinion, we're paying a city administrator to do that for us as a council. We should take his recommendations. That's what we hire him for.
That's the culture Elders always had, is like, we wanted to have an administrator to administrate. What
Yes.
you know that. You can-
Okay, yeah. So do I need to make a motion of that?
I don't know that.
You said you needed some guidance on that?
This is above my level. I know what is written and that's what I
What
will
statute said?
Well, there's the appointed positions have to just be done. The section says like, what we just did on the chief, we have to appoint a chief. We have to have a
Right.
clerk designated in some of those.
But they don't appoint those people.
Mayor appoints them and the council votes and there's,
Right.
and if the council doesn't like the appointment.
Right, they voted out, right? They don't appoint, they don't just say,
So why should you appoint before you discuss this and go through all the trouble?
you wouldn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can appoint and you can vote it down, that can
But
happen.
why appoint? Why don't we have a discussion first about it? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I'd like to make a motion, we leave that in the city administrator's hands, to interview and make a recommendation to the city council of his selection for police chief and city clerk.
I'll second that.
Are we good with that?
Yeah, you can do that, yeah.
Okay, we need to vote.
so you're taking the appointment away from the mayor's, but.
No, I think what the motion would be is for to the administrator to recommend to the mayor.
Right, that's typically how it happens, versus making a motion to do what we always have done.
I think that's.
In other words, you're not gonna micromanage it, Dustin. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I think what you're saying is there's still the possibility that the mayor doesn't agree with Dustin's appointment.
Right.
So,
And that's
that
perfectly
could
fine.
still happen.
That's perfectly fine, so,
So we got him,
yeah,
we need
I
to
like it.
vote.
I like it. All right, we got a motion by Counselor Panzer, second by Tyler. All right, we got a motion by Counselor Panzer to allow Dustin to make the recommendation for police chief and city clerk. Counselor Renard has seconded that motion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead.
So what have we typically done when we're looking for department heads? Because you were on a search, like there was an interview committee with Brittany, right? When Brittany got hired, so
Yeah.
like, is it just gonna be you? Or are we gonna have committees for these department heads? Like, I am not okay saying yes or no to anything without more information right now.
Because we did have an interview committee when we hired.
Like, I feel like these are big positions, like hiring a water tech, I don't need to be part of that. But hiring a police chief or a city clerk, I feel like there needs to be some sort of representation.
Well, I was under the impression that he would bring us 3 or 4 people and then we'd make a selection of those.
But like what we did
he
with-
brings to us.
What we did was, I was on it, Rusty was on it, Mark Kennedy was on it, and the gal that was filling in as city clerk for Patty, who, she was from Lindsborg, I think. She had retired from Lindsborg, I think, right, Angela? That gal. And we sat in and the new city clerk, like all 4 of us, and we had like a sheet where we had to fill out.
Okay,
Do you like that better?
I like that too.
I think
So that's
it,
a different motion then.
Yeah,
I feel like it makes it more
I think
impartial.
it makes it more,
That's just what he says too, though, so. if you
I
bring
know,
us
but
in,
we want
that's
to be part
fine.
of it, but we.
I don't need to
We
send
want
interviews
multiple
to
people.
pay for
looking
you.
at it.
I'm
Yeah,
not good at interviewing people, so I don't need to be a part of it.
fair enough.
But I think,
can we make it between Dustin and the council president and whoever, any other councilman that want to be present?
This is your ballgame.
Does it have to be a motion? Like, that's
Well,
where I'm
I don't think
confused.
it's-
Like, do we just have like a kind of, this is how we've done things?
My memory of these things going back to before, and then when I used to talk to Carrie was, I think there's usually a committee of, usually the admin mayor and somebody from council is involved in screening.
Would
And
you
they,
like to do
and
that?
the question is always how much staff.
Okay.
Well, we talked.
Okay,
You're saying you don't want me.
No, I'm saying that the city council, we make the decisions, you enforce the decisions, so you shouldn't be actually in the decision making. So in other words, Dustin and the council president, we can do that. Our city administrator and council president will do the interviews and make a recommendation to the city council on their selection for chief and for.
but I have it also, and I have an amendment to that, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
When We hired a city clerk when we hired Brittany. We had a city clerk that had done it for many, many, many years, set in. So she could weigh in. I think that's what, because obviously what we're doing isn't working. City clerk was.
So
So I really think you need to find somebody that's been a city clerk for, if they would come in, because they know what the job is. They know what,
You're talking about for the interview.
like for the interview, yeah, because, and maybe you don't agree with that, Dustin, but I'm sorry, the lady that was filling in when Patty left was very knowledgeable. She knew she had done the job for many, many years. It was good to have her input.
Isn't the gal from Lincoln, isn't she part of the state city clerk association?
But if that's not what you want,
Yeah.
then
That was the whole idea.
She's the president of CCA.
Okay.
part of my hangup with too much is that, appointees should not be involved in the politics. I know that's a natural part of the job, but that's why the professional manager exists, is to be kind of the shield between politics, because when politics becomes involved, there's a fear of losing my job because of an elected official, you know, trying to influence how the city is run, as opposed to, you know, that's why the professional administrator is there, is to be the buffer between policymaking and administrative execution of what you tell us to do. And there has been time and time again through a lot of different examples where the professional have, and 90 to 95% of the cases where that is effective. You tell me what you need done, and then I execute through my department heads. And so, it's a little, this is why I'm allowing you to, giving the power back to you, because you have to help me decide how that works. But what I'm afraid of is the political process and unnecessarily tampers the execution of administration. And that's
by
why.
having any of us on the interview.
No, not necessarily. I don't want to go that far, but you know, that's my fear.
Well, we've paid him to do this. I don't get why we have to interview him. Why can't he do it and then he brings them to us?
Well, that's kind of was my original.
Yeah,
idea, but
exactly.
Unless Jessica,
I don't need to see it.
I have no problem with Jessica sitting in on the internet.
Yeah.
If she wants to, because it's council.
Creating politics in a
But I don't think,
appointee.
never mind, I'm saying more. I'm stirring too much.
You do, just because of the way the statutes are written, you do need the council and mayor on at least roughly the same page.
Okay.
Appointment. But the part I don't like, that city employees always joke about it, but like, we always say, well, maybe in May, you just show up to the meeting and not get reappointed, and that's something like, we have a 20-year clerk or a long-term treasurer, it gets kind of ridiculous, like, you know, I'll use.
Are you saying I've been here too long?
No, I don't. And like, it should be in my opinion, it should be a foregone conclusion that Angela will be reappointed as treasurer, you know, I think to me, that's a rubber stamp.
Okay.
I'm so firmly that we believe this, but that's just my,
But that's,
but hiring new people is a little bit different process.
and you said something pretty profound, that, you know, the labor laws don't, they observe the appointments, but they see it as termination.
And if you did not, if you decided not to
Yeah.
reappoint someone, it would be treated as a termination.
They have a severance clause that kicks in.
Yeah, all these things and all
So
the
it's-
wrongful things, so
Okay, so
legally, that's how I see it.
Okay, so let's go back to the original motion where I said Dustin and the council president would do the selection, and then we would approve them through voting as a city council. That would be my recommendation. Is that right, Dustin?
I will adhere to whatever you want me to do.
I think that. Okay, that's.
I'm walking
that's
that
my
line.
motion.
Here's my
The
fear.
mayor has to make it, the mayor has to
Right, I
be
fear-
also involved.
Yeah, I fear that we're headed,
Yes.
yeah, I fear that, you know, I mean, I would be more than willing to say no. I mean, with no knowledge of the person, with all of our history, I think I have an obligation to voter to really be, to scrutinize and say, hey, we've got to kind of get our act together here. How do we do it? I'm just saying. So I think that method, it sounds great, but I think it'd be more prone to a no.
I was one of my first small cities, the mayor and the council bitterly disagreed about, and this was a very small city with like a superintendent, but. And what they had to do was hash it out and moderate and negotiate, you know, and come up with common ground, but that was what they had to do.
Yeah, when I'm afraid of in years past, there, no one on the council and no one on the mayor should have an influence on the decision of the person being hired for political gain or self-recognition. It should be completely independent. And that's why I think the more we keep us out of the loop and let him do it, along with Supervisor Jessica, that keeps the politics per se. And this is my buddy, that's your buddy, we're gonna hire this one, that one, that's a cousin of mine. No, that gets rid of that. So that's my motion.
I'll second that.
I don't think the motion was, can you explain
The
it?
motion was to have Dustin
Right,
as the interviewee and along with the city council president involved in the interviewing process to make a recommendation to the city council who they approve of or who they like, and then you can make the appointment.
okay. Okay, so motion, second.
Yes.
All right, Councilor Panther has made a motion that the council president and city administrator will sit in on interviews, make a recommendation to council of the candidates that they like. Council will approve those candidates and then forward them to the mayor for appointment.
Correct.
Seconded by Tyler. Any questions about that? Is it too convoluted?
How simple you can get it.
Okay. Hearing none, all's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
All right, it gets a little easier now. Resolutions updating city bank accounts.
This is pretty simple, Andy.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve, do I need to say all those resolutions? 2024 03, 2024 04, 2024 05, 2024 06, 2024 07, and 2024 08, as presented to update city bank accounts as presented.
I'll second.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Let's get the man a clap.
Yeah.
I can read.
Can you filter all that through that beer?
So it's Tyler and then Darcy. Okay. All right, Tyler has made a motion to approve updating the city bank accounts, and Councilor Hanson has seconded that motion. Any discussion or debate? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, next item, the purchase request for Winchell Fire Hemmets. So Ralph, you want to come up and present to us?
Good evening. I'll try to make it brief because the fat guy's getting hungry. I believe that you have in front of you, and my apologies, I got back late, but Dustin, you did get them the information that we've talked. All right, so here's the scoop. As you well know, a year and a half ago, we lost one of our major tankers on a major fire. And so I've been here and giving you updates, and we've had opportunities to buy them and the funding wasn't there, et cetera, et cetera. Even acquired, have looked at commercial rigs, looked at used commercial rigs, trying to come up with some kind of a scenario to present to you, and have continued to work and to research. And so a year ago, at the end of the fiscal year of 23, when December was here, I came to you with a proposal and some updates, and I said one of the things that I wanted to do was that I wanted to take money that I had left in my budget, and I wanted to pay ahead on the aerial payments. So that was approved, and we paid the 2024 aerial payment out of what was left in the 23 budget. And I did that because I specifically said, I'm gonna continue to look for a truck, and I wanna have some options, and if we find one, we're literally going to have to move. So on this truck, and I have been looking for him. That is what I was wanting. That's what I came to you with about a year ago. And so I was made notified, or one of my guys found this actually on some social media stuff last Tuesday. And within about 10 minutes of them notifying me, I called and talked to I talked to the lieutenant that's kind of doing this for this thing. Talked to him for about 45 minutes. I've talked to him 4 times since then. I talked to him that Tuesday night, would have been a week ago tomorrow night. And I told him, well, I gotta go do politics, but I'm very, very interested in this, but tell me everything you can about the truck.
And so here's what I can tell you, and here's what my proposal is, and what I'm trying to do. So we have what is called an M977 Hammond right now. And when that came out, it was a palletized load carrier. We had to put a tank on it, put pumps on it, et cetera, et cetera. We like the military trucks, we like the forestry stuff. Almost all of those trucks that we have in the forestry came through that program, came out of the military, came into the forestry, were made available to fire service. And our cost is we don't have to buy those, we did not have to buy, but we are responsible to maintain them. We have become pretty adept at using the military trucks, and fixing them. As a matter of fact, my guys, volunteers, I have an incredible bunch of guys, and I have support from local, even their employers, have really been able to work with us. In one of our 5 tons, which was an M919, which doesn't mean anything to you, we lost a transfer case out of it. We approved and bought a transfer case of $6,000. And we probably put $10,000 to $12,000 for the volunteer labor into that. That truck is now operational. I have the manpower and I have the expertise to be able to do this. Okay, back to this truck here. The last one that we looked at was 55,000 delivered. I have been watching them, and I'm flat telling you, they're vanishing because the military, everything is armored coming in, and those cannot go back into the civilian market. So these military trucks that were going to fire services are vanishing. They're getting more expensive. This one here came up, and I asked him, they are asking $30,000 for this. And so one of my questions was, well, tell me why you want to know $30,000. And he said, kind of an interesting story. They're a similar department of ours. They were granted, they were blessed, they were granted, but they got a regular commercial tender tanker at 3,000 gallons and another engine that they actually got out of New Mexico. That's a whole story. But he's like, this truck actually has an issue. And I'm going to get to that, but he's like, we're going to sell it for half of that because he said, I know a department needs this. And he said, if we can't afford 60,000, we know other departments can. I told him, I said, I'm gonna do everything I can to come up with this. I talked to him the next day and he said, you're exactly right. He said, I've had 5 guys that tell me that if you take this, they're taking it. That truck is sold. It's a matter of whether or not we get it. That's the bottom line. The issue with that truck of it is they have, and he told me this, the last time that they had it out, the front drive axle hung up and they thought it was a brake issue. And they backed the brake pods off, they couldn't get it, so they basically pulled the tire and chained it. So I have been all over the phone, I've talked to the state mechanics, I've talked to the supplier, I've talked to wholesalers that have got that. Everybody has told me the same thing, my guys have told me the same thing, and I feel this way. Number one, I'm not scared of that. Number two, worst case scenario, if I have to put an entire new axle in it, I've already checked and priced and got them, they're about $10,000 for holding axle. I don't think we're gonna have to put an axle in it. But we haven't seen it, but I've talked to mechanics, I've talked to the military mechanics. So what that truck is that you have information on is a 1984 Hammond. It's called an M978. That means it originally came out as a tanker hauler from the military. So it already has a tank on it. The other truck that we were looking at was gonna take me $25,000 to put a tank on it. Because we were gonna try to repurpose the old one, but it's already been on 4 trucks. This one already has a tank. He flat told me, he said some of the fittings between that and the pump, he said we've had issues with. That's a PTO pump, and we've already got the other pumps. We will switch it to a fire pump. The bottom line is this, that would give us 2 Hemmets. That means that I have multiple parts and fittings and everything else. I have multiple trucks that it'll fit. We're already familiar with it. They are very, very capable. My research of it is I think the mechanical that we can do, my guys are not afraid to talk about that. The state mechanics from the forestry, I talked with them and they're like, matter of fact, the guy told me, he said, if you found it for 30,000, you better jump all over it. So here's what I am proposing to you and here's what I'm asking. Last year in December, because of this very thing that came up, we prepaid the $15,000 to $16,000 and something for the aerial payment. We've already made that payment on the aerial for the year 2024 because I know money is really tight. I am asking for the ability to take $15,000 that's in my budget, that's already slated for that. If we didn't use it, we would pay the aerial off this year, but that payment is not due until 25. My guys have been fundraising. And I'm not knocking any other department, but we're not only a volunteer, but our guys are out fundraising. We just got done with pancake feed. And I told them, hey, what we can do? So we have that the firefighters have raised, willing to put up $10,000. If I can put $10,000 with $15,000 that I have set aside in my budget for the aerial, that gets me to $25,000. With the expectation that I could put $10,000 in parts into this thing, I have enough in the budget that we have work to increase. That's what we fix our trucks with. That leaves me within $5,000 of getting it. And then I still have to get transportation. I originally estimated about 5,000. I actually got a relatively good quote that he thought it would be around 3,000. So what I'm saying is this, what I'm coming to you with is, number one, would it be okay to take $15,000 out of what is already in my budget to put towards that? If the fire department, the fundraisers that they raise as the firefighters, which we've had quite a bit of discussion.
Yeah, hey, Patrick, can you weigh in on that? He would be pulling 15,000 from the firefighters' private fund.
10,000.
10,000 from the private fund that.
Which
yeah.
is completely separate from the city. That firefighter money is not under my authority, and actually, it's not even under the city's.
Well, that's the first thing I want to bring up is that why should you guys use the $10,000 that you did on fundraising to buy new equipment for the city on a big truck instead of the smaller items like you normally do? Is there any way the city, we had the funds to come up with the 30,000?
I think we do.
So I kind of feel like you guys bust your butts, having pancake feeds, doing all this stuff, come up with fundraising for the little incidentals that you guys want on your department, because you guys are not paid.
That's correct.
You don't get a dime from the city for your labor. I'd like to see the city, we should be responsible for replacing that truck. You guys should go out and beyond and do extra work to buy that truck.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I will echo that many of the guys feel that way, but they're also like me. Matter of fact, quoting is like, they said, we're gonna get this truck no matter what we have to do to get it.
Yes, my gosh, I hope the people in the city realize that what the money that they're saving by the volunteers working on all this equipment.
And I concur, and I appreciate you.
Thousands of dollars for that.
I'm sure that one that we just did, I guarantee you there's in excess of $10,000 in labor just.
So can we come up with the 30 plus the 5 for parts for it?
I can literally, I'm comfortable using the budget money that I have for the parts.
Okay, so we come up with 30.
And I gotta get transportation up here, and I've got a quote the other day was just about 3,000.
Mr. Panzer, if you want to make a motion, we have it in municipal equipment.
Okay,
That was left over.
30 or 35,
The truck itself is 30,
but we need
and I need transportation. What's that? Yes, and matter of fact, I've pushed on several doors just so you know, I've gone to the implement dealers. I've talked to actually, working with Myco, the trucking firm that actually works with them a lot, has given us, an estimate of $2,800 to $3,000.
The other thing is someone else down the street's on fire. They're thinking, gosh, I'm glad the city spent 30,000 on that water truck to get my house out.
Well, and that's, and the other thing that I kept harping is we're trying to get back to where we were because of our haul water capabilities.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 35,000 towards the purchase of the fire truck, not to exceed 35, and that's for 30 for the truck and 5,000 for transportation. Is that enough, Ralph?
Yeah, yes.
I'll second that.
All right, Counselor Panzer has made a motion to purchase the Winchell fire truck for 30,000 and approve the hauling for 5,000, not to go over 35,000. Counselor Bernard has seconded that motion. Any discussion, concerns with that?
Dustin, you said the municipal funds?
So
Municipal equipment.
municipal equipment, like I said, the leftovers from when we had it, which we're gonna work on establishing that fund
Yeah.
for 2025. But we still have leftovers from that.
Okay, and this will not affect your fund drive money at all.
No,
Thank you.
Okay, that's not right. In my opinion, why
Thank
did
you.
you use your fund drive money that you guys, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, discussion, concerns?
Yes.
Anybody else? Anybody? Aaron? No. All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We kind of moved into.
One question I have for Al.
Yes, go.
Is this gonna replace the 514 or the 508?
This is for 508.
508.
This is the one that's actually setting outside of it.
Now, 514 still is gonna need our engine work done?
We had to drag it in the other night.
Okay,
We have it back up and running.
okay,
Yes, and Dustin and I've updated you on this, we did file, for grant stuff, but yes, that truck it's been run hard and put away wet.
so when we do our budget for equipment funds, we've really got to look at that because we got the street, water, and fire department. all
Right,
need equipment.
They all do.
Yeah,
The
okay,
508 or 1% when you're turning back over to the forestry, they.
Yes, once we strip it out, that one still belongs to the forestry. You just, and there again, I may have, even right now, there are some trucks that, and we have several of them that belong to the forestry, that basically they have said, we're giving them to you, you have to maintain them, and as long as you want to keep them, they're yours. If you are not using them, or they're damaged, then you have to turn them back in. That's one program. Then we have some trucks that the forestry said there's, and I can't, there's a name for it, and I apologize. But they give it to you, and after a period of 5 years, they're like, it's yours. You can do whatever you want to. And we have some of those. And then we actually have a couple of the military trucks, that in similar situation like this, that have actually been purchased that the city owns.
so in other words, if we had to put a new engine in 514, and we talk around 25,000-30,000, did you say that time of that for an engine?
I have not researched that one there, but I do know based on some of the other stuff, I'm sure it's that.
So we need to look at that when we do the budgeting, to at least try to get that money in there in case that engine blows, that we have the cash there.
To keep it, yeah.
Keep your fire department going.
So I appreciate that.
Just so you know, Mr. Panzer, all the department heads will be getting me their estimates for
Okay, good.
Friday. And these are all rough drafts, so it's just having a starting point for us to play with it.
At least we're ahead of the game. Thank you, Dustin, for being.
I owe that out to everybody else. I would be
Okay.
ahead of the game if they didn't help me.
Any other questions that I can answer?
Yeah, you go ahead.
You could send Michael Coit's down to Texas and just have him drive it back.
I have had guys be blown, you would not believe some of the discussions.
One more question. Does that when he's hungry?
I ain't got any.
Oh, okay.
You don't get looking like this, just.
Hey, I'm right there with you now.
Hey, Ralph, question. Hey, where's your discussion on per diem? Remember we brought that up and you guys were gonna talk about it?
Yep.
Remember we had our tour and you said, hey, you know, these guys go on training, they lose wages, and we started discussing it, and it became a little bit more complex, and he took it over, you know, we discussed amongst ourselves, you know.
It's still in the process.
Okay.
Mr. Merritt's not complete.
Okay,
And we've had some additional
Yeah.
discussions as well.
we just want you to know, we
Thank
thought
you
that was a
very
great
much.
idea.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so, yeah, that was great. We gotta go into department heads now. So Officer Weigel, do you have an update?
A couple things. I think I figured out what you guys wanted previous council meetings, so you've now got our calls for service for February. 220 of those, the breakdown was attached in the email we all got, and then March, same way, 218 average. We're at 5 and 7 bodies for the department right now. We're gonna lose another one here, August-ish, he's gonna retire. So we do need to get hiring, as far as that goes, we've had ads out enough before we even got the chief stuff out, just haven't had any good or viable candidates apply yet. So if you know anyone that's 21 with no felony convictions and no history with, misdemeanor domestic violence, applications are available to you.
Very good, thank you. We've already fired, you didn't have anything else, did you, Ralph?
I know you got the run reports.
Okay,
So, no, thank you.
all right, very good. David, do you have anything? Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
I failed to include this council, and if you want, I can run to my office and show it to you, but we do have a recommendation for safety lights in the soda ash compartments, and it was slightly over my spending limit of 10,000. I think the quote was for 10,700, and I failed to put it on the agenda. That's my fault.
Is that for those yellow flashing lights on the barriers?
No, it's for actual lighting. And when we had that power outage. When we had the power outage, that arced all the two wires came together, arced, and blew a bunch of our equipment. And so this is a replacement for some of that stuff that aren't out. Our lights have been out ever since pretty much ever since in the site, the Zodiac site. Well, the recommendation was that we replace them with these emergency lights. After, like, there'd be regular LED lights. But when the power does go out, it'll have an emergency light on them. It'll be just dulled down on the lights that are already there. So that way, if you go in the building, you have lights, you don't have to worry about end up hitting something with your hand, you know, of some sort and getting hurt. This way it's, you know, and that's,
This in the water treatment plant?
no, it's in the silos.
Oh, the silent.
It's all the silos, the lime and sodium. And the recommendation was, well, if you're gonna do it, because the other ones aren't any better. You know, they're getting all rusted and some of them don't even come on sometimes. And so they recommended just to replace everything that's there and replace them with emergency type light. You know, that's LED, which will save a lot more money. And that's, you know, why it's, and that's why it costs a little bit more, because they are emergency lights.
Do they have the money in their water line?
Yeah, I'm requesting approval to purchase.
It's over your limit, I should make sure.
Approval?
Yes.
We didn't have the money for it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we make an approval for $10,700.
Can you go up to 11,000?
$11,000 for emergency light.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Nard has made a motion to approve, emergency lighting up to $11,000. Councilor Coates has seconded that motion. Need a date?
No.
All right, here now, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed, all right, motion carries, so Dave, you got your lights, very good, how are you? Okay, that's it, is any other department heads out there? I don't think I see Steve anymore, okay. City attorney, do you have anything, Patrick?
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry to take up more time. City court is not, the dates are not set by ordinance or code. It is by tradition always been on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. And I would very much like to move it to the first and third Tuesday, and I may have already started putting some motions to do that, but I thought I should maybe tell you guys and ask if that's okay.
You're good.
Okay, so now, starting in June, we'll do it on the first and third Tuesday instead of the second and fourth.
Yeah, sounds good, anything else?
This man.
Yeah,
I have something on, from DVAC. I didn't see me on the agenda here for, Sexual Assault Awareness Month Commission.
yeah, come on up.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's,
Yeah.
all right. So, 2024 is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, here for DVAC. Whereas, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, sexual violence is a widespread preventable public health problem in Kansas. And whereas sexual violence is any sexual act that is perpetrated against someone's will, which includes sexual assault, rape, unwanted touching, threatened sexual violence, and verbal sexual harassment, and all types of sexual violence involve victims who do not consent or who are unable to consent or who refuse to allow the act. And whereas 1 in 2 women and nearly 1 in 3 men experience some form of sexual or some form of contact sexual violence in their lifetime. And whereas in 2023, 1 incident of rape was reported in Kansas to the Kansas law enforcement every 8 hours. And whereas these statistics do not represent the true prevalence of sexual violence due to underreporting, and then sexual offenders often target people they perceive as vulnerable, less powerful, less credible. And whereas the offender is known to the victim in the vast majority of cases, and that is 78.5% in Kansas. Whereas the effects of sexual violence may be felt directly after or for many months or years later, and confusion, anger, sadness, shame, guilt, helplessness, hopelessness, and self-blame are all common reactions to sexual violence. And whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas, also known as DVAC, provides 24/7, 365 free and confidential services to victims of sexual violence in the city of Ellsworth. Now therefore, the city of Ellsworth, Kansas Board of Commissioners here do proclaim the month of April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Great, happy sign that, yeah, thank you.
And I
Sorry, you went to
apologize.
Wayne, yeah.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Can we get a picture?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that part of the same program that we did?
We do that, yeah.
Yes.
Today's the date, right?
And we came here in December, January.
Yes.
For the,
Yeah, we do a different look where she's basically turned it around with us, you want to go over
however you want to do it.
there, just here.
Cool.
Yeah,
We all stand up?
Yeah, yeah.
We all stand-
Yeah.
If you don't want to be in it, but keep that look on your face. It's like- We went to sit here.
Oh, do you need to take a picture?
Do you mind?
No, I don't want. Where do you want me? Where do you want?
If the- let's see where she looks good.
Yeah, Angela will tell. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, she blocked you?
Dustin, can you guys squeeze in just a little bit closer
Sure.
together?
That the end.
I want to make sure I get everybody. One more. Okay. Okay.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so city administrator, you ready for your comments?
Just a couple of updates, water sewer, we're continuing to replace stuff. We're currently just did the 3 811s to replace the Stanbury hydrant. And we're also looking into options because we found 11 valves in the quadrant A that need to be replaced. So I didn't like the price tag the last time I brought it to you, where we might have to order some because some were critical, including the valve that's right there on the raw water line. That's something that really concerns us, so I might have that hot tapped, but we are looking into where we can do the tapping ourselves. We had a vendor come in and present their system, which is just safe for our staff. But we're trying to find alternatives that are cost effective and safe for our staff to replace our own valves, because our network is aging and we need to continue to make these updates. Because it's not the last one. Other than that, everything else will be delineated in my reports to council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Tyler, you have anything?
No.
Sure. Okay, all right, Jessica, you have anything?
Yes. I consulted with Sergeant Weigel before the meeting, so a friendly reminder to the community that your trash should be either bagged or in a container that is no more than 32 gallons and is tapered. I do not want to see other people's trash in my yard. Thank you very much.
Where do you live on this?
There's I get homework, I get. debit cards.
Everyone needs to know the address.
Aaron, just do that.
210 North Kansas Avenue.
Aaron,
And Patrick can advise on this, or if it can just simply be a request, but I would say when we go into executive session to have the entire second floor cleared and put it down on the first floor.
We need logistically, do you think, and I should have asked us this before, is his office an appropriate place for all of us, or will that, we need to work on?
I would prefer to be on the second floor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
do need to work on something that's private up here, for sure, so.
or can we all go to the back there and visit?
I'm talking.
I think today, it would be nice.
Nobody waiting outside.
I won't be outside, okay, yeah.
Ready, wait.
I agree 100%.
Downstairs.
So, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Will Angela come down and get me?
Yep,
Sure.
somebody
Sure.
will.
Anything else, Aaron?
No, that's it.
Don, go ahead.
Okay, I've got about 3 things maybe. First of all, I want to make this to go on the record to protect the city, and Dustin can correct me on that. If I start right here and take 10 steps, this is half, so take that distance twice. We were notified by Kirkland Michael to fix 30 feet of sidewalk out there where the design is flawed at a low price of $24,000. I want to go on record that I, as a councilman, completely object to that. There's no way the city is gonna pay 30 feet of concrete. That kind of money, plus we got a letter from the state of Kansas telling us how ridiculous it is. So I wanted to go on record in our minutes that we are against that, or I would like to vote that we're against.
Where's this at?
It's out on the sidewalk out here
Hey,
too.
Don, we were gonna go in executive and talk about it more. than we-
No, it needs to be public.
Whole discussion?
The discussion needs to be made public, because we're gonna hold people accountable for it. And the public's asking me, what do you do about that sidewalk? People need to be held accountable for that type of crap. When you screw up, you admit it and you fix it. That's all I'm saying about it. When I had my store, if I did something wrong, I messed something up, I paid for it. And then someone made the comment, I won't say who, well, we can't get people to come to Ellsworth because the city council is so hard on our company. That's BS. How do we know what people want to come here? How are we influencing their employees from coming here? That was stated right to Dustin by word of mouth from him. Am I right, Dustin?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go on the record that that's bull crap. I'm the employee. That's all I got to say about that.
Anything else, Don? Yeah. Go ahead.
Good news. Can you believe it? I got good news. The city guys have done a remarkable job so far on Douglas Avenue, cleaning all those trees and stuff out of that creek. It looks wonderful. That's been needed to be done for 20 years. And I want to just give them a good attaboy pat on the back. That's really good.
I will let them know tomorrow.
Okay, and then there again, we'll go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel.
Have we got anything else?
No, that's it.
Darcy, do you have anything?
No.
All right, my only comments are how was the meeting with Troy Waymaster? Did he call you? or-
Okay, I got a meeting with Troy Waymaster on the Crazy Park. His secretary called me back and said the complete case has been turned over to Mr. Holmes. He is in charge of investigating complaints to KDOT. So they're investigating the complaints that we have on Crazy Park at this time. We have not heard anything back either way, but the ball is in process.
All right, any other comments that I have are very little, so I guess at this point we'll go into executive session. How many minutes do we need do you want to do the personal matters first, or do you want to do the attorney-client? It's up to you. I will do the attorney-client first. Let's, how about, this is short, 5 minutes maybe?
Thanks, Jim. See you later.
So I can't see the clock. What is the?
It is 7:17.
So we have to have a motion for the council, city attorney, temporary city clerk.
Yeah.
Wait, she's gotta go. Yeah, okay, she's temporary. Yeah, and then city administrator.
I guess 7:20. I make a motion that we go into executive session until 7:25 with the current city council, mayor, Angela and Dustin. And
Thank you.
the current
City attorney.
I'll second.
All right, second motion. So the city council, city administrator, city clerk, city attorney will go into executive session until 7:25. Here, let me vote.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Let me stop the recording first.